Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Well, they say it's all about your mindset. What you're thinking is going to create your reality. So why would you be thinking negative things? Why would you limit yourself? Sometimes that's easier said than done. To get past that, how about things like hypnotherapy, something called NLP? We're going to talk about that today with somebody who coaches people along with many of these modalities and so much more. Her name is Dawn Torkelson, and she's back with us. Hey, Dawn, how you doing?
Hi. Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Great having you back here. Every time we get together, I learn so much, or it validates things that I thought. I am a hypnotherapy champion. I, like most people, waited as the last resort because I was afraid of mind control and all that. Just put that away. That's just so not the truth. But then I discovered NLP. Is NLP my best description? Is it hypnotherapy on steroids? Like it just gets to the point faster?
Yes and no. Okay, so NLP works really well with hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy is when you get into a nice, natural, relaxed state of mind where you can access higher alpha and theta waves, which are brain waves, and you do that naturally. Every time that you're in a relaxed state, every time you use your imagination, every time you're being very creative, you actually naturally go into this state of mind. But this state of mind is very, very unique in the fact that it is what you're it's what you run off 95% of the time. And so, which means only about 5% of the time we use our conscious mind. So it's really the, if you think of it like a computer, it's really like the program that kind of runs everything. So when you tap into that hard drive, you can make a lot of changes in your life. That's where you can take out old programming and put in new. And that's where NLP comes because NLP is actually neuro linguistic programming. So it uses your brain and how your brain works with the neurons and that electrical activity that helps you create, with your thoughts um, and language. So it's really your thoughts and your language creating your own reality. So, for example, if
Hmm.
you wake up every morning and the first thing you think is, how can I be more miserable today than yesterday? You will find a way to be more unhappy today than yesterday. Just like if you wake up in the morning and you think about the things you're grateful for, and you're like, wow, what can I do today to make today better? You make it the most amazing day I've ever had. Your mind, you've given it an instruction now. You've literally given
Hmm.
it like a command. And its dutiful job is to go out and find something to validate that. Just like if you wake up thinking negative, you're going to find ways to validate why your day is so bad. If if you give it the instruction to find something positive, you'll find things to validate that.
Hmm.
And then it's up to kind of to your conscious mind for you to recognize it. You know, like if you're only looking and only want to acknowledge what's negative, that's all you're going to see. And if you only want to acknowledge what's positive, that's what you're going to also notice. And of course, negative things may come up and happen, but when you're in the more positive mindset, which you create using your words and your language, the power of NLP, then things are more manageable. Like for example, if you get an offender bender, okay, let's say nobody gets hurt, you know, God willing, everyone's safe. You could get out and start screaming and yelling at the person and pretty soon it's the worst day of your life. And you can just live on that anger for days. Or you can get out of the car and be like, I am so grateful you're safe. I'm safe. It's just a car. It can be fixed. Now, what do we have to do to get it fixed? And move on. And that's a whole different state of mind. But you're also giving yourself the language of, okay, I'm okay, you're okay, everything's good. Let's get it fixed. What can we do? So now your brain's actually looking for the answer to that. How do we get this fixed? What do we do next? So you're using your language to give your mind the instructions of what to do next. Versus if you just sit there feeling pity or being angry, you're not looking for a solution. The mind's not looking for a solution,
Interesting.
if
Thank you
that
for
makes
sharing
sense.
that. Oh, it makes
You're welcome.
crystal clear sense. And it actually validates even more of things that and I think many of us have thought. So, not to use a cliche, but I think it's the best example, the rose-colored glasses. You wake up, you put the rose-colored glasses on. What do I mean
Yep.
by that? You have a gratitude journal. You woke up, you're feeling positive. You're appreciative for what you have. So now your day starts. Now you might not see, sunshine, roses, lollipops, butterflies, and all of that immediately, but through the glasses, it'll filter the way you started your day, your intention, the intent that you said. And to your
Yeah.
point, it's a great one. The car had the fender bender. All right, things happen. It didn't rock your world. Things were okay. Um, Now, if you woke up and you put on the, nasty glasses, you wake up, you're miserable. It's another miserable day. Here we go again. You have that accident, fender bender. It was going to happen anyway. Now, through the glasses, you're looking at it as, oh God, I got to get it fixed. And look, this, you moron, like you cut me off, blah, 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 and all of that. You're gonna find it. You're going to find
Yeah.
it because of the intent that you said. My
Yeah, and
question,
I was gonna say, if you even want to hit the rabbit hole and go down a little deeper on that,
go.
would that accident have happened if you weren't already driving in a really negative state? Because you may not have been paying attention like you should have. You may
Sure.
not have noticed something that could have maybe made you swerve, or sometimes you can't. Sometimes, you have no control over it. But however, so that's where mindset comes in. But
Gotcha.
mindset actually controls everything. I mean, if you're already driving down the road angry and you're so focused on your own thoughts of I'm so mad, I'm da da da, you're again, you're using that space in your mind to make like a tunnel vision. So now you're not seeing everything else that the subconscious mind is seeing, which might be someone driving not so well ahead of you or behind you even.
Sure.
Not that you're looking behind you, but your subconscious mind is picking up 11 million bits of information per second, which only 160 are filtering through your conscious mind. So your awareness shrinks. And
I
that's
totally got
why,
it.
yeah, that's why I'm saying, if, until you retrain your brain to not be focused in tunnel vision on something really negative, you're missing a lot of what's out there.
I'm totally on your page. And
Yeah.
yes, you could have loosely put with those negative glasses on, asked for that accident, whether you knew it or not. And I
Yeah.
was just writing on if it was going to happen anyway, the way that you view it. So, my question here is if we're at least 90, 95% doing our day through our subconscious, that's controlling everything. It's been said. And then, 5-ish% is your conscious um, mind.
Mhm.
What's going on? Like we're having this conversation. Are we just on autopilot? Are we like avatars, just in auto? And where
We
does
could be.
like, I don't know. I really mean this. I've always wondered about this. If it's 95% your subconscious, i.e., we're fully not aware of what we're doing, how much of the 5% is in there? I don't know if
Well,
that makes sense.
it's habits. It's habit building. This is why you have to really actively pay attention and be aware so you can change this habit. And that's where the neurology part of NLP comes in is, like you said, you get up every morning and look through your gratitude journal, or you just, do a little prayer, or, well, whatever your faith believes,
Sure.
or you listen to sound bowls in the morning, something that's just positive and uplifting, and, a little on the spiritual end. And you sit there and talk about, maybe wake up and say, thank you for another beautiful day. I mean, I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm glad my kids are healthy, Just saying a couple little statements like that. It's not like you have to do a lot. Just a couple little statements like that is more than enough to get your mind
Hmm.
shifted. And if you do that every single day, what it does is, when you have a new thought, the neurology in your brain changes. So you might have chemicals that are going this way, right? And this is the pattern. It's like zip, 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 right? You have a new thought, now it's going to go this way, you know? So every time you have a new thought, you actually create a new electrical pattern in your brain. And when you make that the new habit, and so you're doing it on more of a physical level as well as on the conscious and the unconscious level.
Hmm.
And
So
so that's what you have to do, because you have to think the way the pattern was originally created was the exact same way. So you have to kind of do the same steps to create a new one. Because, when you're a kid or something, and your parents are telling you, oh, you're so good, you did such a good job, you did a good job. What do? You grow up thinking, yeah, I can do this, I did a good job, because that pattern was created. And then just like the opposite can happen. If you grow up and someone's like, oh no, you didn't do that right, you didn't do that right, here, do it this way, you didn't do that right, then you kind of grow up with a little less confidence in your own ability, because you're
hmm.
thinking, I probably, I'm doing my best, but I'm not doing it right. Those are all patterns that are created, and they all have a neurological pathway. So you have to break that pathway. The good thing is, one, we can break it, two, we can change it, and three, it does not take very long. It's literally just, and using hypnosis is the fastest way to break that pathway
Do you
and
feel
to
that
change it.
many
Yeah.
of us don't practice this positivity because we feel, is it really going to make a difference? I'm writing down in a book every morning what I'm grateful for. Is it really going to make a difference? And then we just gravitate away from it because we just don't believe it's going to make an impact.
And that has a lot to do with it, because part of it actually making an impact is believing that it will work,
Hmm.
and
Point.
if you give up, before you start seeing results, it's not that it's not working. It's just you're blocking those results, or you're refusing to see them. They might be there in front of you, but you're in that tunnel vision. So you really have to be open to being aware and making these changes.
What you just said, I feel is a game changer because if you're not believing it's going to work, or if you're not fully vested in it,
Yeah.
whatever practice you're doing, whether it's keeping a gratitude journal, keeping a journal, being positive, if you're not believing that this is going to make a major difference in my life, this is the way it works, you're already, you handicap yourself. You're at a disadvantage right there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, think of anything. If you're studying in school, and you're like trying to study for a test, and you're like, well, I'm never going to pass. I don't even know why I bother. I don't understand this.
Right.
It's going to make it harder for you to understand. And you're convincing yourself that you are not capable of understanding. So you're not going to learn the material like you would had you changed the attitude and said, okay, I'm learning this. I'm learning this. This is easy to learn. Even if it's not, you can take the hardest subject and convince yourself, oh, this is fun to learn. I enjoy learning this. No, you may not, but the subconscious mind does not know reality from fantasy. It only knows what you tell it. So it
Mhm.
believes that you believe that you can learn this. but you have to just wake up every day and say, okay, I'm going to tackle that math. I got this today. Just like if like in a relationship, if you wake up every day and you're like, this relationship, or I'm dating this guy and oh, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. Well, then how's it going to move forward and work? You've
Mm.
already condemned that you don't want this.
Hmm.
But if you meet someone and you're like, oh, this is the most awesome person, like this is definitely going to work, you put more positive time and energy into building that and getting it to work, right?
So I'm going to throw the monkey wrench in here for just a moment. You're dating that person, and there's some things that maybe don't support or serve you the way you think it should, but you're still in the relationship. But your gut is telling you this is not going to really work. This is not a long-term thing. Your gut, you're getting that sign, that intuition. How do you blend between the derailing it with your negative thoughts or the gut feeling that's coming?
I always say your intuition's your most powerful source
Agreed.
because the subconscious mind speaks to you through intuition. So if your gut is telling you there's some red flags, I would say start paying attention to those red flags and then use your logic to really ask the question, is this something I want? Is this a behavior that I want to tolerate? And if the answer is no, then move on because a lot of people ignore their gut when it's a familiar pattern. Like maybe one of your parents was bossy, or controlling. And then you meet someone and that pattern's familiar. Now your gut's telling you, I don't want to be with somebody like that. I want something different.
Hmm.
But your mind is stuck on that old pattern. That's where we go to like changing these patterns. And so you have to just basically, recognize it and say, okay, I had this environment growing up. I want a new environment moving forward. And you have to make that change. Sometimes it's hard because you actually have to take action. But once you make that decision and you make the change, like I said, you're breaking that pattern. So next time you'll either recognize the red flag sooner or you'll just decide to be with someone who doesn't give you those red flags to begin with because now your mind's not even searching for that anymore. It's not looking for what it used to know, it's looking for what it knows now.
Interesting, because don't we always go back to familiarity, comfortable things?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yes, and that's why when you change your thoughts, and like I said, hypnosis works really well because it's the fastest way to do this work. But when you start changing your thoughts, and you can do self-hypnosis, so it's like everything we're talking about, you can do on your own, and make these adjustments on your own, So I mean, it's a big area, under this umbrella. But I like going to someone, you know, even though I know how to do self-hypnosis and I know how to
Sure.
do everything, I still like going to someone because I feel like there's some things you can do better, that someone can guide you through than maybe you can do on your own. But that's with anything.
Sure. And
Yeah.
I have been hypnotized, very impactful, fantastic. NLP as well. Yeah, at least I was told it was NLP. Honestly, I'm not even sure, the difference. That's why I asked you in the beginning. It seemed like it was hypnotherapy infused with NLP, and that's why I felt like it
Yeah.
was moving a little faster.
Yeah.
But I haven't hypnotized myself to make change. I've done it to see if I could do it and to relax. And I was at a meeting like 6 weeks ago. Never forget it. And they were like, all right, we're going to take a minute, a little bit of time. You want to meditate, just reflect, downtime in between these sessions, whatever. I'm like, perfect. So I use the look up technique.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And I was definitely hypnotized. It was just a comfortable, relaxing. I was getting clarity thinking
Mhm.
until they came back on the microphone unexpectedly and said, "All right, now we're back." I'm like, "Whoa, hello." Well, definitely wake up there.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that I was out. Now, maybe I could use that for good, deeper good in terms of an intent. If you're able to get into that spot, how do you set the intention for it?
You set the intention before you get into it. So you set the intention and you just kind of tell your unconscious mind, this is, this is what I need an answer to. This is what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay.
Or, or ask, speak to your unconscious mind. You're like you're speaking to someone and just kind of say, okay, so what do I need to do to get more clarity on my goals?
Okay.
What do what do where should I be focused to get more clarity today? Something like that. And then just go into your relaxed space, that quiet space, and just enjoy that quiet space. You may not get an answer while you're in that space, and you might, or you may not. And you just, but you don't want to try and force anything because, and if any other thoughts come in, that's just your logical mind trying to see what you're doing. It's all curious, you
Sure.
know. So you just let those fade away, or you could even put that in your intention too, and just say, for the next 10 minutes, I'm just gonna focus on my quiet space. I'm going to communicate with my subconscious mind. Conscious mind just stay
Hmm.
in the background. You can observe and then just let it flow. And then, but then afterwards, pay attention and see if your thoughts change or if you get a new idea.
I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
you have backed up my thoughts of why we need a positive mindset and even starting your day that way. And now I see it in a different way. Yes, I thought we should do that. We shouldn't, wake up on the quote unquote bad side of the bed. But now I see how it's piloting how your day is going to go just by the
Yes.
thoughts you have when you first wake up. And it's all about setting the intention. How do we find you, Dawn? Somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe do a session with any of these modalities. I know that you have uh, specialization in mindset coaching, especially for people that own businesses, even niches like spa
Mhm.
management or ownership and all that. How do we find you?
You can find me at advlifecoaching.com. That's advlifecoaching.com. I also have advancedlifecoaching.org. Um, and you can always call me at 702-266-1132 during business hours. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The best way to get a hold of me, though, is advlifecoaching.com.
Fantastic catching up with you again. Learned
It's
a lot,
great.
validated a lot here as well, and looking forward next time we talk.
Me too. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Same. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home.
that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.